October 28th Novi Library Board meeting to order, and I ask you all to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I will ask Director Farkas to introduce our new members.
Thank you, President Crawford. I'm very excited to introduce our two new student representatives. We have Abai Kakarla and Ridha Salim, who are both from the Novi High School and joining us. You have their bios and information in your packet tonight. They both met with myself and Mrs. Gochai a month ago to go through some training, and we're very excited to have the new students joining us for the next 2 years, which is a wonderful opportunity for them to learn about the board, learning about board governance, and learning more about the library, as well as being spokespeople for us when it comes to the teen audience. So thank you both for joining us and being a part of this board.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome, for sure. Happy to have you here. I'll ask Secretary Bartlett to please call the roll.
Trustee Chair Curry. Present. Trustee Crawford.
Here.
Trustee Dooley.
Present.
Trustee Mitchner.
Thank you, Present.
Trustee Wood.
Here.
Trustee Yu is absent excused. Trustee Bartlett is here. Student Representative Kakarla.
Yes, here.
And Student Representative Salim.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, and I will ask for approval of the agenda. I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Member Dooley, a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I just have one quick change. Under the Events Marketing Fundraising Committee, our meeting actually was moved for really good reason, but it was moved to the 25th. We just met this week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then if it's okay with your motion, we'll amend the motion to approve the agenda as corrected. Right?
Right.
Okay. Okay, fine. All right. Secretary Bartlett, please call the roll.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner.
Yes, thank you.
Trustee Wood.
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Trustee Chair Curry.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay. Are there any removals from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Okay. Trustee Chair Curry moves, and let's see, Trustee Wood?
Second.
Seconds. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, Secretary Bartlett, please call the roll.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner.
Yes.
Trustee Wood.
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Trustee Chair Curry.
Yes.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, the consent agenda is approved. And moving on now to, before we get to public comment, I just want to welcome everyone. We hardly ever get an audience, so this is really great for once, and I want to commend you all. It's wonderful to see that citizens are interested enough in the library and what's going on at the library that you come out. I know your time is precious and you come out for the meeting. If you are attending tonight because of a recent call to action from the Novi Northville Racial Awareness, Accountability, and Action Organization, I will share with you that the message posted on Facebook was misleading. The post stated that I, as president, am shutting down the board's DEI committee, and that is simply not correct. I have no intention of shutting down the committee. In fact, I could not eliminate the committee or shut down the committee without changing the bylaws of the board. Plus, we would also need board approval. So we are merely pausing the committee for a short time until the board receives additional conflict resolution training. The important DEI work continues through our library staff under the direction of Director Farkas. So, in order to hear all citizens' comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 3-minute time limit. This is not a question-answer session. However, it's an opportunity for you to voice your thoughts with the library board. I will remind you that that remarks should be limited to those pertaining to the board's business. Inappropriate, profane, vulgar, or abusive language and personal attacks will not be tolerated. Citizens must state their first, last name, and address. So with that, I will ask if anyone wishes to speak.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Jason Mitchell. I live at Harrier Place. Delay, defer, deny. March 25th, deferred. Juneteenth paid holiday discussion. Director Farkas reopens a closed issue, bringing it to the new board for a vote. Denied. Juneteenth paid holiday. The vote to make Juneteenth a paid holiday was rejected 4-3 with Trustee Crawford, Cherukuri, Bartlett, and Wood voting no. April 22nd, delay. Statement acknowledging hateful acts against and support for AAPI and black communities was voted to be tabled 4-3 with Trustee Crawford, Cherukuri, Bartlett, and Wood voting to table. May 27th, deny. DEI Committee Chair appointment. Reappointment to DEI Committee Chair denied to Trustee Mitchner by President Crawford. Deny. Statement acknowledging hateful acts against and support for AAPI Black Community of Novi denied 4-3. Trustees Crawford, Cherukuri, Bartlett, and Wood voting against. June 24th, deferred. Juneteenth paid holiday was sent to the Policy and Finance Committee by President Crawford. Denied. Juneteenth a paid holiday. Vote against making it a paid holiday was made with Trustees Crawford, Cherukuri, and Bartlett and Wood all voting no. July 22nd, delay. Board response to June listening session was incomplete, and the response later was promised by President Crawford and the board that never happened. Deny. Board response to June listening session did not, President Crawford decided not to answer and respond to all questions and comments unless they were asked multiple times. July 22nd, delay. Juneteenth paid holiday was delayed. It was sent to the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee made no recommendation as promised, but led by Chair Bartlett. Deny. June reflection session was canceled by President Crawford and Chair Cherukuri. August 26th, deferred. Juneteenth paid holiday was supposed to be commented on by the Policy Committee led by Chair Wood. No comment was made. Denied. Juneteenth paid holiday voted against 3-3 with Cherukuri, Bartlett, and Wood voting against. Deferred. Juneteenth paid holiday was voted 5-1 to be sent back to the Policy Committee and the HR Committee by Crawford, Cherukuri, Bartlett, Wood, and you. September 23rd, delayed. Juneteenth paid holiday. No meeting by the Policy Committee under Chair Wood. Denied. Petition to remove DEI Chair. Refused to act or even addressed by President Crawford. Denied. DEI Committee prohibited the DEI Committee from meeting by President Crawford and Chair Cherukuri. September 23rd, again, delayed. Juneteenth paid holiday. No decision from HR Committee by Chair Crawford. This is a clear pattern now established by the now no longer new board of the library, that there is a systematic suppression and silencing of the minority communities in Novi, as they have made multiple requests. It has now been noted on record that you have a pattern of doing the same thing over and over. There is no more excuse for being new. You are very familiar with the issues. The request is very clear from the community. We could not make it any clearer. We ask you to act in the community's interest, and we do not appreciate being denied over and over again. Everybody is aware of what's going on, and it is delay, defer, and denial tactics will no longer be approved or tolerated. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Betsy Bodwine. I am a Novi resident. On May 27th of 2001, this board approved the following statement. The Novi Public Library is committing to ensure that every Novi community member, library guest, board of trustee member, library staff, and volunteer are treated with dignity and respect. Discrimination, bigotry, and racism will not be tolerated. The board and staff are dedicated to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in order to create a comfortable, safe, and supportive library environment for all. On behalf of Novi Northville Racial Awareness Accountability and Action Group, as well as the 280 individuals who signed our petition, we call on you, President Crawford, to keep your word. Srini Cherukuri's public social media posts, as well as the formal complaint made against him by Trustee Mitchner, are clear evidence of discrimination, bigotry, and racism. We call on you immediately to remove Mr. Cherukuri as the chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. This statement also professes the board's dedication to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. President Crawford, you unilaterally made the decision at the last meeting to stop the work of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which was unanimously approved as is standing committee as of September 2020. that is in direct opposition of this professed dedication. We call on you immediately to appoint Trustee Michener as the chair of the DEI committee and authorize her immediately to resume the committee's work. The Novi community is demanding accountability from this board. We are calling on you to take action. We express our deep appreciation for the excellent programming that has been put forth by the library staff. We see their work and we appreciate that. Thank you, library staff, for listening to the community and showing us that you have heard us. We truly hope that the library board will look to you as an example of what it means to embrace diversity in this community. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Sharon Trumpy, and I am a Novi resident. President Crawford, at last month's meeting, you stated that you were not going to waste your time monitoring the social media of other board members. I absolutely agree that this is not your responsibility, but we have not asked you to do that. What we have asked of you is that now that you have been informed of the racist, misogynistic, homophobic, and transphobic posts of a board member, that you respond to that. Failing to do so is abdicating your responsibility as president. In May 2021, you approved a board statement that discrimination, bigotry, and racism will not be tolerated. Last month, you did tolerate bigotry. You justified this by stating that you could find offensive content on anyone's social media. Mr. Chair Curry's public social media posts are not just offensive, they are bigoted, and you are tolerating it. Keep your word, Kathy. Mr. Chair Curry is not fit to serve on the DEI committee, much less lead it. Remove him. You have stated that the DEI committee was unproductive since its inception. This is demonstrably false. Under Trustee Michener's leadership, the library board approved BCALA and APALA membership. Juneteenth was approved as a holiday, and Trustee Michener brought forth a motion for Juneteenth to be a paid holiday. She was erroneously assured that it would be. Under Trustee Michener's direction, a community listening session and a response session focused on DEI work. She also led the committee when a second listening session was planned. While she chaired the committee, the members read Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. Trustee Michener also consistently embedded DEI goals into other board matters, such as prohibiting hate speech. Since Mr. Chair Curry took on the leadership of the DEI committee, he has not brought a single DEI initiative to the table. He instead has canceled the planned listening session response, failed to respond in writing to the board's listening session written response, argued against making Juneteenth a paid holiday, and refused to state his own commitment to DEI efforts in the library. To suggest that Trustee Michener and Trustee Chair Curry are equally ineffective as chair of the DEI because of their big personalities is simply inaccurate. The library staff has been incredible over the past year. Their work and commitment are abundantly clear. But this board is failing the Novi community. How is the community to trust that under your direction the library will treat all guests with dignity and respect when you fail to treat each other with dignity and respect? It is time for you to step up. Remove Srini Chair Curry from the DEI committee. Reinstate Tara Michener as DEI chair and get to work. You have a lot to do.
Good evening. My name is Jen Kalusik, and I'm a Novi resident on Phillip Drive and a patron of the library. I'm speaking tonight because as a member of this community, I'm very concerned with what I have heard from some board trustees at prior board meetings I've viewed online. This is my first time speaking at a board meeting of the library because I feel it is important. DEI is a fundamental goal and core value amongst many organizations, as it should be. I'm proud that the library's written board statement states that the library is committed to ensuring DEI, as noted by both Betsy and Sharon. It is encouraging that the written document is not limited to just employees, but also specifically states it applies to all trustees and volunteers. However, we all know that words on paper mean nothing if the action taken by those in leadership are not aligned with those statements. Further, an entity with such a commitment to ensuring diversity, inclusion, dignity, and respect surely ought to have a mechanism in place to enforce those goals. So what are those mechanisms here? I understand you don't answer questions during the comment session, but I have a number of questions that I think anyone who is interested in ensuring DEI amongst this board should be asking. Whether you're a person making a complaint, whether you're a person against whom a complaint is made, or whether you're a bystander trustee on the board or a member of the community, you should feel empowered to know the answers to these questions. Is there a specific policy, HR or otherwise, that prohibits discrimination and harassment at the library, whether those actions are directed towards an employee, volunteer, or patron? Is there a complaint procedure within that policy? To whom should reports be made? What does the policy say about prompt remedial action in response to that complaint? Does your policy require you to conduct an investigation into the allegations that are made? Is there anyone outside the library that needs to be notified, the city or maybe an insurance carrier regarding potential liability coverage? Does the policy prohibit retaliation against individuals who raise complaints of discrimination, harassment, or any other type of mistreatment? I understand that a formal complaint was made by one of the board trustees against another board trustee based on the comments that he made to her during an DEI meeting. I understand the complaint was presented to the board chair. What has been done to ensure that that complaint is addressed and prompt remedial action has been taken? Have any third parties such as liability insurance carriers been notified of this complaint? Has an investigation been started? As the board chair acknowledges that she too has had allegations of discriminatory conduct made against her as referenced in an email from the board packet this evening, has an independent third party been consulted on conducting an investigation? As a resident of Novi, I am disappointed to be left with the impression that the board's terrific written policy supporting DEI and not tolerating discrimination appear to be nothing more than window dressing. Why was the response here to pause the DEI committee meeting? I can't imagine that the board, either unilaterally through its chair or by a vote of the committee, is choosing an action that looks retaliatory in response to a complaint that was raised against the committee chair. So as a citizen and patron of the library, I would like to know what the purpose is of the pause, how long it's going to last, what actions are going to be taken to repair the reputation and restore the committee, and what is being done in response to the receipt of a formal complaint made by a board trustee. Thank you.
Try to use all my breath to do this one. Members of the board, our director, as you know, I'm a library employee and a member of the DEI board as well as the DEI staff board, or committee rather. I was stunned to learn from the last library board meeting that the library board DEI committee was being paused without notice. Talking about and taking action to address inequity is always difficult, but choosing to stop the work because it is difficult is unacceptable. When members of the DEI committee, both staff and board members, shared with the board leadership that Srini Shirkudi was unfit to lead, this should have been addressed swiftly instead of removing Mr. Shirkudi as DEI chair. However, the work was stopped by the president of the board, of the library board. The board DEI committee and placed blame on those who brought this bigotry to light. It was distressing to see that you, President Crawford, made the decision to stop the board DEI committee unilaterally. You attempted to frame this as a decision made by the HR committee, but that had to publicly contest your statement that it was not made by that board, that it was your decision. And thank you, Trustee Dooley, for doing so and clarifying and making sure we are transparent and making sure we do know the truth. President Crawford, I call on you to be transparent about your decision, to tell the truth, why it was made and why, when it was made and why. When you fail to take responsibility for your own decisions, this creates distrust amongst the staff and board and the public. President Crawford, as soon as you were appointed as president of this board, you removed Trustee Mitchner as the chair of the DEI before the work even had a chance to get started. I'm gonna skip over to some other parts because most of you know this long story. The DEI committee originally consisted of staff, including 2 Black staff members, 2 board members, and all of the committees. Of all the committees, this one was the only one that was created to support the diverse BIPOC community that actually helps to represent some of the staff. What we never expected is that when we complained about what was going on, what needed to be changed, is that we would be targeted, that things would be removed, that there would be retaliation, which is painful, which is extremely, makes us have no trust for this board. And now you put an undue burden on our director and our staff. You make decisions that affect our life and my day-to-day livelihood, and you do so from a lens of inconsideration, distrust, and unsafety.
Hi, my name is Carrie Lowe Piccolo, and I'm a resident in Novi. I live kitty corner from the library, actually. First, I wanted to welcome the new student representatives. It's great to see you. Thank you. And I wanted to thank the board for all your volunteering, dedication, and serving our community. I'm not one for speeches, so I don't want to repeat what everybody said, but I do want to say I echo and support everything everybody has said so far. I actually met Trustee Missioner through the community work she does. She breathes and lives and serves and does the work of DEI every day, even when she's not the chair of the board. And to me, having the values of the person that's the chair is what is most important. You would be able to look at her social media and see her values and not see anything that's negative towards any group or individual. And I do think that our chair should represent the values that DEI should represent in our community. I chose Novi as a resident for raising my family because of the diversity, equity, and inclusion that Novi offers. And so it's very concerning to me that we're going this direction and that it's changing and we're trying to pause this important work. I would like to request that the board be more transparent in when this conflict resolution will be taking place. And I certainly hope that it's within the week, because we're all adults and we're going to role model for the student representatives that this kind of work is tough, but we're all adults and mature, highly educated, and we can get through this, sharing different perspectives. Instead of pausing, we deal with it. And we have these mature conversations to get the work done. Because when these conversations stop, the work doesn't get done. We have all these people that want to, do the work, and so just leaving it to the library staff, that's underutilizing all this expertise that we have. And then we wouldn't be able to take as much action and do the important work. I'm sure I'll sit down and regret everything I missed saying, but hopefully I covered most of it.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak this time?
I'm stepping in for my mother. She has gone through a lot this year and is actually, as you can see, unable to speak. So I'm stepping in to speak for her. So I'm trying to remember where she was at. I'm sorry. When Trustee Shakira, and sorry if I'm botching the name, was appointed by you, President Crawford, it became apparent, short order, that his behavior towards committee members was unprofessional and belittling. Despite multiple committee members voicing this concerns, you failed to act. When his bigot social media posts were brought to your attention by the community member and Trustee Missioner logged a formal complaint regarding Srini Shakura's, again, I'm sorry if I'm botching it, behavior at a DEI committee meeting. You neglect your duties. You choose to protect Mr. Shakura and shut out the important DEI work demanded by the Novi community and the library staff. This is the very definition of retaliation for reporting screenery. Shakuri's discriminatory acts, the very people you have committed to representing and protecting, are being targeted by you, by Trustee Shakura, for speaking up. This is why staff does not feel safe under your leadership. Your choice to excuse Mr. Shakura's behavior, both on his in-person interactions and on social media, sends a clear message that Black people, as well as the LGBTQ plus community, are no longer safe, protected, and welcome in Novi, and specifically at the Novi Public Library. I, as well as a Black woman employed by the library, do not feel that I am adequately protected from racism and retaliation. Your appointment by Major Gatt and the appointment of Screenery Shakura to the library board, and the decisions made by you and the library board since that time, as a clear message of anti-Blackness from the city leadership. I call on you to do better, to be accountable, and to immediately remove Sereni Shakura from the DE.
Can you wrap up your amount? Your time is up. If you could wrap up your comments.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there anyone else that wishes to speak at this time? Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Jackie. I'm a resident of the city of Novi. I've raised my family has moved here over nearly 20 years ago. My daughter graduated from Novi High School 2 years ago, and I love this community. I spent a great deal of time over these years in the new library, the current library, and the previous one. And I think it's an atrocity that and a slap in the residents of the Novi community face to endure and have us endure your covering and backing and supporting someone who has clearly voiced their dislike of certain members of the community and just as society and as a whole. And it's an embarrassment, and I don't see how this can be endured. I don't see the reason and the justification for such a volatile move to the citizens of the city of Novi and the residents of Novi, and it's shameful. And whoever is allowing this, those of you that are allowing this, Trustee Crawford, I mean, whether it's yourself or other members or collectively, something needs to be done. Something needs to happen. You guys need to hold yourselves accountable for what you've done to the whole community, because how dare we have to endure such an embarrassment, such a slap in our face. We don't deserve this. We're a city who enjoys our community, who enjoys where we live, who enjoys the benefits of this wonderful, the wonderful library that we have. And as a board, overseeing the library, I mean, it's like, how dare you, how can you even justify the continuing of the supporting of someone who has, like I said, verbally expressed their dislike and of certain community persons and characters and of people and the representation of people. That should be, then and of itself, a reason and a cause to think again, to possibly put someone else in that place, and to pause something instead of acting on it, making a decision. Goes to show, do you need to be in the positions that you guys have? I mean, because action needs to take place. This person needs to be removed, and as a citizen of the city of Novi, I think that's exactly what should happen. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you today.
Next.
I can't see a clock, so I'm assuming someone will let me know my time.
Pardon? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said I can't see a clock, so I'm going to assume someone can tell me my time.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Dr. Copeland, and I am not a resident of Novi, but I am a stakeholder in Oakland County. I want you to know that other counties and other cities are watching, and my question I pose to you is, what do you want your legacy to be? When you appoint someone who is incapable of doing the work that is required for diversity, equity, and inclusion, I question the appointment of the person you've placed in position. If you know that you have persons who are unqualified and incapable of doing the work, not just on the outside for people, but internally, there's a problem. Because the people he's supposed to represent, he's actually harming. The question I pose to you is, what do you want your legacy to be? People are watching. People are taking note. Other cities are representing and understanding what is at stake here and what's at risk. And that is the livelihood of the people coming behind you. Not necessarily you right now, but the young people that are watching. So the question I pose to you is, what do you want your legacy to be? I know Tara Mishner because she's a mental health professional just like myself. We deal with cultural competency on a daily basis, not just professionally, but also personally. It is a situation where we're training people. We're working with people on a daily basis to make sure we do no harm. So if I know professionally she's called to an ethical standard to do no harm, then I know personally she would do no harm in her role as DEI chair. I question when people are appointed to positions that they don't have the ability, the qualifications, or the training. We saw that, unfortunately, with our most recent president. Well, who's no longer the president. But the reality is if you want people to hear you, you want students to take action, you hear the community speaking and saying what they're asking for and what they want, you have to ask yourself, can you put your pride aside? Can you step to the side? And can you represent what matters to the community? You were appointed to serve them. If you want your legacy to be one of greatness, one to be where your reputation precedes you in a good way and not in a negative one, and it's not one where neighboring cities are questioning what you're doing, the concern becomes what you're going to do is going to set the standard for what happens around you. We, as residents of Oakland County, are watching. So again, I ask you, what do you want your legacy to be?
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Okay. Seeing no one else, we'll be moving on with the president's report. One of the things I wanted to mention is the discussion.
Sorry, Kathy. It's the student representative's report first.
It was already written, the student.
Oh, okay.
Did the students wish to say anything, or?
They usually queue up in order to present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, students.
So like Ms. Farkas mentioned earlier, we did meet with her last month to go over some training and get a better understanding of what we're gonna be as a student representative. And some of the tween and teen library programs that are coming up is the Between the Pages, which is a book club where guests can attend and read a book, and then they'll have trivia questions based on that book. The previous meeting was held on September 22, and the attendance was 1. Teen Space, which is a place where students can go after school to work on their assignments or have time with their friends, has begun on October 4th.
Thank you, Abai. Now I'm going to talk about the Teen Advisory Board. The first meeting was held on September 24th. The meeting started with a welcome from Ms. Gochad, the Information Services Librarian. After the welcome, we were introduced to the current TAB officers, as well as provided with more information about what TAB is and what it does. Then we participated in a few icebreakers to get to know each other. We had guest speakers from MSU and the Novi Rotary to present on the October school supply donation drive and how TAB could connect and be involved by helping to promote the donation drive. Following this presentation, we were asked whether we would prefer in-person versus virtual programming, and the decision that was made was to have remain virtual, and this decision will be reevaluated on a monthly basis. I attended this program, and I found it was very informative, and I really liked the fundraiser that was about to go on because I believed it was for a good cause, and that is the Teen Advisory Board. I believe Abai is now going to go over the upcoming programs.
Thank you. Yes, and there will be another Between the Pages meeting on November 17th, and there will be also another Teen Advisory Board on November 19th, as well as tomorrow. There is a Teen Stop feature display, which is featuring young adult fiction books that have been recognized by the Banned Books Week titles from the frequently challenged young adult book list, provided by the American Library Association's Office for Intellectual Freedom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both for your report. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip you at all. I thought your first meeting that maybe we would just be hearing from the representative from the library. I didn't realize you were already up to speed and you were going to have a report. So thank you very much. We appreciate that, and it sounds like you're doing a lot of good things and interesting things. So I know you started working right away from the very beginning. So thank you so much. Moving on to the president's report. Discussion took place at the last board meeting relating to continuing board training and the content of such training. So Trustee Dooley undertook the compilation of ideas from each one of our members and we submitted our ideas to Director Farkas. All of those ideas went to her for inclusion in the request for the proposal or the RFP from two of the competent presenters that were chosen. The resulting scope of work was included on pages 79 to 81 in your packet and submitted to the board for approval, and we'll be voting on that later. Is there anything you wish to tell us, Member Dooley? Anything that you wish to add to that?
No, I appreciate all the trustees that weighed in with regards to what we're looking forward in terms of training. And I think, when it comes to, a question was posed to me when we were accumulating this information, is this strategic planning training or is it diversity, equity, and inclusion training? And what I wanted to clarify was, with regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is woven in our strategic plan, and therefore, I do believe it is going to be a part of our training going forward. But I think, hopefully, when we look at the proposal and we vote on it tonight, that'll give good guidance for the people that are weighing in terms of the consultants, because we do have a lot of work to do in order to repair the relationships and trust on this board so that we can dig deeper into DEI work, because it does take a lot of vulnerability to do that. And so, I just appreciate everyone's participation that was able to do it. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for your participation in that. I also hope you all have had a chance to digest the message that I sent to each of you regarding concerns that were raised by Trustee Michener after last month's board meeting. The passing of the note by the sitting attorney at the last meeting was simply a request by the director asking if she should intervene, if the attorney should intervene during the conversation. She was new to our process and new to the board. And Director Farkas did whisper a reply which was misinterpreted. So there was absolutely no intent of making fun or ridiculing anyone.
I'd like to speak to that if I can.
Let me continue with my report. So I caution members and staff to be more mindful of how a side conversation or a pass note could be misinterpreted. In addition, body language, including facial expression, could easily be misconstrued or misunderstood. For several years now, board members have been accused of eye rolling and or frowning, plus gestures at board meetings when another member is speaking. I personally have not observed this myself, but I just know that during meetings, your face is readily on display and being interpreted. And this was particularly true when we were having remote meetings. I think that was particularly true. So I suggest that we all become more conscious of our facial expression and other body language. And if you have a particularly expressive face, and maybe I would be one of those people, I guess, perhaps you could wear a mask again or something so that so we're not going to have any problems in the future. So, and the Trustee Michener's other questions and concerns were addressed in the city attorney's confidential information that went to each one of you. Now, did you have a question?
Well, you brought up something involving me, so I wanted to speak to it. I wasn't prepared to do that, but I always try to be as prepared as possible. you had mentioned that it was false, and I come up here with the hope and the duty professionally to serve Novi. For 7 years, that's always been my goal. Never to cause any controversy that doesn't need to be caused. However, if I bring a complaint, it's accurate. And I do have timestamps if you like them. I know that Tom had asked me for them, but I'll go ahead and go, since you said it didn't happen, I feel like this is you asking me to open that door. So 1042, if you look at the video, and of course video can't capture everything. So keep in mind there's probably other things that aren't in here that I noticed while sitting in this chair. It's not easy to sit in this chair when you're me. Keep that in mind. But 1042, attorney gives side glance to library director. 5103, attorney leans in to start side conversation with director. 5222, attorney leans in to start side conversation with director. 5530, attorney leans in to start side conversation with director. 5538, attorney interjects without commenting through the chair or otherwise being recognized to speak. 5622, attorney talking, laughing with director. 5834, attorney interrupts trustee Mitchner. 1 hour and 30 minutes in, attorney talking with director. 1 hour and 1 minute in, attorney interjects while trustee Wood is speaking. 101.25, attorney talking with director. 101.42, attorney interjects while trustee Crawford is speaking. 101.305, attorney talking with director. 119.51, attorney leans in to start side conversation with director. 1 hour, 20 minutes in, attorney talking with director. 1 hour, 23 minutes, 13 seconds in, attorney leans in to start side conversation with director. 1 hour, 27, 25 seconds in, attorney talking to director while trustee Wood is speaking. 1 hour, 28:12, attorney leans in to start side conversation with director while trustee Mitchner is speaking. 1 hour, 28:19 in, attorney side conversation with director, interrupts board meeting to the point where trustee Mitchner has to point out that they are out of order. 1 hour, 28:20 in, attorney gives condescending glance to director. 1 hour, 28:24, attorney makes another side comment to director, makes no apology or explanation for being out of order. 1 hour, 29:17, attorney passes notepad to director after writing for 1 whole minute. Attorney then ignores a direct question from trustee Mitchner and continues side conversation with the director. 1 hour, 35:23, attorney interjects without commenting through the chair or otherwise being recognized to speak. 1 hour, 35:58, attorney talking with director. And 1 hour, 39 minutes, 10 seconds in, attorney laughs openly at trustee Mitchner's comment, which was not a joke. I was not planning on bringing that, but I like to be prepared because things have been said about me that aren't true, and I would not do that to anyone else. I did also share that this is not an allegation. I said this is not professional behavior at a board meeting. I have a professional duty to carry out that I was appointed for, and that's what I'm here to do. So when I'm laughed at, and if you don't believe me, you can look at that because that part's on camera, I do take offense to that. When I'm entering a motion and it's interrupted, I do take offense to that. That is not professional behavior. Tonight, there's been side conversations, right? So, yes, I was told that everybody's not under OMA here at this desk, but when we're here, we are, in my opinion, we should be expected to have professional behavior. That's where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble, but I am stating that this is an interruption to our professional meeting. And again, I'm here to carry out board business. I'm here for the community. I'm not here for anyone else up here but the community, because that's why I asked to be considered for this position. So please know, I didn't make it up. It's not all in my head. And sometimes I do feel, targeted when I bring up things that happen to me as though I'm just making things up. So I feel like now I have to be prepared to answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
And now moving on to the speaking. It is not acceptable for the audience then to applaud or to interrupt the meeting as we are doing our business. The treasurer's report.
Okay, the financial report for September 2021. The approved budget for Fund 268 for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. We have total revenues of $3,244,172 against expenditures of $3,409,700. That looks to consume $165,528 out of the fund balance. The approved budget for Fund 269 for fiscal year 2021 through 2022 has total revenues of $47,500 against expenditures of $58,400, looking to consume $10,900 out of the fund balance. The revenue and expenditure report for Fund 268 as of September 30th, 2021. We have revenues of $3,212,122 against expenditures of $706,064. The revenue and expenditure report for Fund 269, we have total revenues of $5,270 against expenditures of $12,144. The balance sheet as of September 30th, 2021, the ending fund balance for Fund 268 is $5,001,370. The ending fund balance for Fund 269 is $1,688,780. Any questions, comments?
I have one,
Yep.
and Jeff, thank you for that. You may not be able to answer this, so
Probably not.
I don't want to scare you. But I was looking over the treasurer report, and it kind of speaks a little bit earlier. I need some clarification, and in my professional duty to look at the fiduciary responsibilities we have. I just made a note for myself to bring here to the board. The library fund expenditures and revenue report on page 31, it shows that we have spent $3,780 in the first 2 months on legal fees. This is over half of our budget for the entire fiscal year. In the month of August alone, we spent $2,128. And that's a lot. 1,218 of those dollars was with Foster Swift, which is our attorney of record, and 910, is with Rosati and Schultz, right? According to the breakdown on page 18 for claims and warrants. So I did ask Director Farkas earlier this week for a copy of the retainer agreement so I can understand with Foster and Swift, which is my right as a professional trustee on this board, to have that documentation, to look at it, to understand better. I did not receive a response. However, I would like to understand better why we have two attorneys, two separate firms working for us. I did ask that question. It did not get answered. I was told that Vice President Dooley initially asked Rosati Schultz to help. I don't know why. And then I was told that President Crawford has kept Rosati Schultz on. So from my understanding, from a fiscal responsibility standpoint, but also the fact that Foster Swift are library leaders in law, and they speak at conferences. I just recently spoke at the MLA. I spoke at PLA. I'm going to speak at PLA. They're for the public, that's Michigan Library Association Conference. I spoke there, and I will be speaking at Public Library Association Conference representing DEI, ironically, and policy. But they're known in the library community, so I don't understand why we have two different attorneys on board, two different firms. And I'm asking for a transparent reason why, if I can get a job description of why, because we're already really speeding through our legal funds. It also seems disjointed, and I've asked directly several times, and it just hasn't been directly answered to me. I was told I think it is their prerogative to have Rosati Schultz on.
Okay. I guess we'll take it under advisement, and perhaps Director Farkas can prepare some notes or something that bring it back to the next meeting as to the reasons why we have services from two different attorney firms.
I'd be happy to speak at this moment if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. I did send an email back, Trustee Mitchner, on the 26th of October. I'll be happy to read that email. President Crawford was also included on it.
I did not see it, and I looked again today. Did you?
I don't know. I have it here. That's why.
I just saw a cancellation from you today.
It was sent on the 26th, which was 2 days ago.
Yeah, I don't see it, but you can feel free to read it, absolutely.
Hi, Tara. We don't have a retainer agreement with any specific attorney. Since I have been employed with MPL, we have had a history of using an attorney on an as-needed basis with Foster Swift for HR and policy and the City of Novi for bylaws and library contracts. I've also used Butts Along for HR in the past. The city's attorney has offered their services as part of the city as well as their availability. I have included President Crawford on this email. If the board would like me to pursue an agreement, then a scope of work and proposal would need to be set forth I'm happy to move forward based on the board's wishes. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
I didn't see it in my inbox. It may have went to junk. That's a possibility. Can you tell me, can I understand why we have two different firms? I don't know if you can answer that now or if that's next month, like President Crawford said.
That's how I stated it here. So Foster Swift for HR and policy, they have library experience.
They do.
That's why I've engaged with them in the past. With the city being the city in terms of bylaws and us being appointed, or you being appointed by the mayor, I've had a relationship since I came on 14 years ago with the building authority, being the one who took on the project for the library, and our city attorney being involved, as well as contracts. That's how that's how it's been in the past. And I've set forth the same way forward.
Sure, and I guess my thought is, like, we've never had, in the 7 years, I would say 6, because I think you've been here for maybe a year, right? So in the past year, we've had an attorney at every meeting. So that's piling.
Yep, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah. So that's been piling up our legal fund, and I know that we talk a lot about budgets. Like when I've asked for things, for different things, I'm told we don't have the money. So I just want to make sure, in my professional duties that I've asked to do, that I understand exactly what we're doing and why. And it never went to like a vote or anything like that, so I just really don't understand.
So I received direction from the last president, past president, Augusta, asking for legal to be represented at the board.
Okay.
So that goes back, and then when interim trustee Dooley came aboard, she asked for the same. I've had the same request from President Crawford.
But do we know why? Like, what is the purpose, I guess? I don't know if I'm not being clear enough. So when I get a job, I usually get a description.
That have come up. I mean, I don't think it's right for me to speak for board members that have asked for that. So
Sure.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Trustee Mishner, if you want, I can offer clarification, at least for me.
Yeah, please.
So when former President Augusta resigned, I was vice president at that time as well. And since I was interim president, the last meeting that she was at, that she conducted, President Augusta conducted, we did have a representative from Foster Swift.
Mm-hmm.
It was at that meeting that actual representative indicated that they are not really that adept when it comes to OMA and Robert's rules as they are with other things. And because I was freshly going to lead the board and kind of thrown into it, I knew that Rosati Schultz had that expertise, and I wanted to make sure we were compliant, which was why I thought it would be best to make sure that we had a firm that did specialize in OMA and Robert's rules, because we still kept screwing up until that point. And there was a lot of questions with procedure. And I'm somebody that likes full transparency. So that was my interim for the 2 meetings that I led. That's why I asked for a different firm to step in.
And as far as I'm concerned, I was on city council before. I'm familiar with Mr. Schultz, and I'm familiar with his department. And I'm also, I also experienced some of the same uncertainties that Trustee Dooley mentioned, in that I was going to be new to the board and new as president, and I wanted to make sure that I was getting the kind of advice. I just didn't have much confidence in the other firm as far as not only OMA, but other questions that may come up right away. So that's why.
Okay, and no one's new anymore, so I'm just, because I get the new part. I guess I'm wondering what's the continued reasoning why we have 2 firms?
Well,
or attendance at every meeting?
Well, I think probably because of the kind of issues that have been brought forward, we felt that Mr. Schultz's firm had more experience with the kinds of things that were going on our board. I think that he had more experience.
Can you be specific with the kind of things that you mean? Just so I can understand.
Questions, I mean parliamentary procedure in particular.
Yeah.
The OMA thing in particular. Bylaws, he's worked on our bylaws. He's actually been the person that, or his firm anyway, has been the one that has been going over our bylaws and our policies and has been involved in that. And so that's why.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving along to Director Farkas's report.
I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, Anybody have any questions for Director Farkas? Seeing none, it's time for our second public comment, and in order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 3-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session, however, it's an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the library board. I will remind the audience that remarks should be limited to those pertaining to the board business. Inappropriate, profane, vulgar, or abusive language and personal attacks will not be tolerated. Citizens must state their first and last name and address. And seeing if someone's ready to come forward, okay?
Hi, Jason Mitchner, Harrier Place again. So I wanted to address, since we're about to get into the committees, the Finance Committee's report in August relating to whether or not the library could afford to make Juneteenth a paid holiday. They brought back a solution that was HR and policy-based, doing vacation for time off swaps and floating holidays. I was really looking for a numbers solution since they are the Finance Committee. I was hoping it would be a monetary solution. So I will restate the proposal I made in June at the listening session that I never got a response to because July reflection session was canceled. I'd assumed if you had 50 part-time employees working the max eligible hours between 26 and 29 and a half hours, they would receive 6 hours paid at an approximate hourly rate of 15. It would cost the library approximately $4,500. Since then, though, I've seen the library postings for jobs have usually had part-time employees coming in at under 20 hours, in which they wouldn't be eligible for any pay, and the pay rate was usually between $10 and $12. So a revised estimate would now be maybe 10 part-time employees that would be eligible the week of the holiday. At the lower rate of 20 to 30 hours a week, they'd receive 4 hours of paid holiday. At $12 a piece, that would be $500 to the library. And it's very possible that no one worked over 12 hours, 20 hours that was part-time, in which case it would cost the library $0. If my numbers are wrong, I would love to have it refuted and correct numbers presented by the Finance Committee. I also like to address the DEI comments made last month by President Crawford, how the DEI Committee's always been a mess. I would submit to the board that under Chair Mitchner, there was 2 listening sessions, 1 reflection session successfully carried out. They initiated the library book audit. They initiated and secured diversity-based ALA memberships, the BCALA, APALA, Reforma, AILAA, and JCLC. They helped secure Juneteenth as a day of recognition and tried to get it passed as a paid holiday and party with July 4th, and proposed multiple statements of support for targeted minority groups in Novi. Under the new chair, though, Chair Curie, he has had 4 accomplishments. He's been able to cancel the DEI July reflection session. He's had a resignation from one of the library staffs on the DEI board committee. He's also had a letter submitted by the library HR staff questioning his role and his ability to lead as chair, and a petition signed by 275 people requesting his resignation. I would remind President Crawford, just as late as July 22nd, she had this to say. So it hasn't even been a full year, and look at all that has been accomplished. Amazing progress has been made, in a large part due to the passion, dedication, and ingenuity of Trustee Mitchner. I submit this, that I do not understand the comments and responses made by the board regarding the DEI and the assumption that maybe they're ineffective. I would suggest that the DEI committee was very effective under prior leadership and has become completely paralyzed under the current leadership. And I would submit that if the board wanted to rectify the situations and the community, the issues of conflict among the board, instead of trying to dance around the problem and pretend like we just need to get along, go along, they should address the issue at hand, which is the constant refusal to listen to the minority populations in Novi and rectify the DEI issues that have been put forth today by multiple community members. Thank you.
Hi, I've lived in Novi since 1996. I'm technically in Noville, so my kids go to the Northville Public.
Excuse me, could you move closer to the microphone?
Can I take this? Here. Maybe that's better.
Thank you.
Okay. I wasn't planning on talking tonight. I've seen a lot of the controversy, and I wanted to come and see for myself. I did not. It broke my heart when I saw the social posts. I don't know how you operate in a DEI capacity as chairman when you can say things like that. So that aside, I kept looking and listening. I saw that the committee was on pause, which gave me okay, it's on pause, so what's going to happen next? I think you need to say. But more than that, I came here tonight, rather what your post said, watching you guys tonight fight like this in a way that is not addressing the elephants in the room breaks my heart.
I watched people very bravely come up here and say their truth. And just because we don't understand that their truth, it doesn't mean hurt and pain isn't there. That young lady came up and you shut her down and she had maybe 4 more words to say. I just want to say to you, 12 years ago, as a young mother, I went to this library and I was treated really badly and I have never been back. I couldn't pay the late fees. I didn't realize, like Northville Public Schools, Public Library, they had a late policy. It was like $7 for like 12 videos I had out. I owed like 112 and I didn't have it. So I went to Northville. Ever since, I've gone to Northville Public Library. I want to be in this community. I live here. And I want to ask you, Mr. Srini, and it's not because I can't say your name, I'm nervous. I think by this point, you really should step down. I don't understand why this is even an issue. I don't understand why all these people have to be here and tell you that they're offended and they hurt and they don't like what you're doing. It should be enough. They came, they spoke their truth. Listen, okay? Step aside. It's hard. When I first came to Northville, I came from a huge city, and the first thing I said to my husband is, oh my gosh, it's so white here. There was no color. None. And now there is. And I look at Novi and I'm hopeful. And every day I say, let's stay here. They're doing the work. When I saw the Black Lives Matter, I met Tia there. I was so proud of our community for showing up and doing that. You didn't see that in a lot of communities. It took guts. It took guts to come here today. So as of today, I would ask that you just withdraw. You step aside and you say, whether it's Tara or she, you step aside and you say, we're going to do this hard work and we're going to make it work. And I would ask you just to withdraw. That's all I have to say.
Hi, this is Carrie Lopiccolo again, resident of Novi. I live off of 10 Mile on Simmons. I just remembered 2 more of the points I wanted to make. Thank you, President Crawford, for mentioning the disrespectful reactions that I witnessed by watching the Zoom board meetings, a couple of them. It broke my heart. It was uncomfortable to watch them, quite frankly. It wasn't professional, and I give Trustee Mishner and how she held herself together and remained composed. And was still able to professionally get through the rest of the meeting because my jaw was dropped and I was upset for her. That's almost why I couldn't give a speech today, because the passion comes out and she composes herself so well. The second point I'd like to make is, thank you. What's your name again? I'm sorry. Louise? Yes. So she mentioned fees. As a mother, she couldn't pay the fees. And by pausing the committee, there's still action steps I read on the agenda that are not being heard. I think everybody's voice should be heard, and we still have an equity issue. It was nice that we have the new the box for the northern part of the city to be able to access the books still without coming to the library. But again, they're going to be racking up fees if we don't have another box that they can return it in. If they can't go to the library to get the books, how are they supposed to come to the library to return the books? So it's perpetuating a cycle, a negative cycle in that community. And I think that needs to be addressed right away. I'd volunteer. I'm sure we have plenty of community members who could volunteer to help build a box and return those books to the library. And hopefully the committee will be able to be part of that. Just things like that. We need action steps. We don't need to pause the committee. We need action steps, and we're all grown adults, and we can share ideas and work through it together. Thank you.
My name is Cameron Banks. I'm a Novi resident. I am also 20 years old. I have a wonderful mother. I wasn't prepared to speak today. I did come because I have been following along with things that have been going on and the actions or lack thereof of what has been happening as a reaction to that. So I don't know if everyone on the board has kids, but the way I was raised in my household was I always felt welcomed and I always felt like I had a voice. At such a young age, I sometimes didn't, and there's some battles that I could not fight for myself, and that's where my mother would take over, and she would represent me in the way that I felt appreciated, I felt welcomed, and I felt honored. It is very sad to see the board appointed, especially someone in particular, I do not know how to pronounce your name, that is appointed to do such a role, that is not doing that, and there are members on the board alongside you and members of the community that are affected, that their livelihoods are affected, and that their health are affected as well. Also, it also shows a terrible example to the people, younger people, especially people my age, coming up behind you all, that have to one day take your roles or learn from them, and are also being affected because we're seeing how our parents are being treated, and it ultimately affects us. I know we all know with the pandemic and stuff like that, my mother, she has suffered from the coronavirus, and I was there to witness that, and it was very hard, and she did go through it, and she is still having some health issues. Having extra stress and not feeling welcome in a place of her work and in a community that she sacrifices so much to represent, and that she puts so much effort into, that she does not get that same. It affects her at home, and it also affects me because I then have to help her with her mental health, help her with her livelihood, and help her with her actual physical health because she is out here fighting battles for the community alongside many other community members. I have a grandfather who is a very honorable man. I look up to him, probably my favorite person in the world next to my mother and my sister. And something he taught me is you have to admit when you're wrong. You don't always make the best decisions or the right decisions, but part of having honor, morals, and value is saying to admit when you're wrong or admitting when you do not know something. If a problem arises, there is processes in place to fix those, and simply putting a pause on it is not a mature way to handle it. It also is being cowardice coming down from the problem and not addressing it. Even at 20 years old, I know that when I have a problem, there are actions that I need to take. Earlier this morning, on my way to school, I got into a car accident, and I knew from the moment that I hit the car in front of me that I had to take processes and had to take steps. That was very challenging with it being my first accident, but I did know, even at 20, the steps that I need to take. When you stepped in, and I agreed to that when I got my license. When you agree to this position, you know the steps that you need to take, and just knowing is not enough. You also have to take those actions. Thank you.
Take your time. Could you tell us your name?
Yeah. My name is Kristen Dockick. I live at 44013 Winthrop. I was definitely not prepared to speak today. I know both personally and professionally many of the people here in this room that I might even say or guess that are on both sides of this challenge in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I do diversity, equity, and inclusion for a living. I have over 30 years invested in this, and I hear a lot of pain today. And I know the hearts of both sides, and they're really good. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to cry either. So what I would like to offer, volunteering my time and my experience to offer some ideas for the council, for the community, and for everyone to basically hear each other's voice. I'm not suggesting any actions. I'm suggesting how to talk and have conversations, because there's a lot of heart on both sides. And I know these people individually. And Trustee President Crawford, you and I met at the Capitol building with my little boy Tyler when I had suggested Cultures Connect be part of the mission of Michigan. And President Crawford, you were wonderful that day. You are wonderful today. You are listening. And everyone here, I see listening and I see pain. I could name everyone in the room, but everyone that's spoken is speaking from their heart, and I hear both sides. So I do know from experience that President Crawford would be open to this. She was open to it 3 years ago when I met her and suggested that I take this to the state of Michigan to get it declared. I have been in the public library with Julie Farkas. We have offered diversity programs. I know Tia Marie personally. She has a great heart. I know a lot of people in this room, and there needs to be more conversations. I am not suggesting any specific actions. I will volunteer my time for that. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to come forward? All right, seeing none, then we'll move ahead. Committee chairs have all submitted their reports and if they've had meetings. So I ask the chairs of the committee if they have any additional information that they wish to share. Does anyone have any additional committee report? Okay, seeing none. Matters for board action, library board action. Okay. I might find this page here. Okay. On the number one, approve a scope of work proposal. I'll entertain a motion to approve the scope of work proposal. Anyone wish to make that motion?
I'll make that motion to approve the scope of work proposal for engaging a consultant for the library board.
Okay, in a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, the motion's been made and seconded, and now discussion. Yes, Trustee Bartlett.
Yes, looking over the scope of work, and I, as all of you know, I wasn't at the last meeting. One part of the last meeting that I listened to was a comment made that when Dr. Meadows was here, that there was a video of him. And if you look at our website, if you look at what's out for the public, there is no video of that meeting. And there was no video of that meeting taken. It was the first meeting back in the library. Dr. Meadows requested no video. He did say that we could do a recording, which was so. So there is no video on that because we didn't take one. Similarly, I was at the session with Dr. Marks. Dr. Marks also asked in that session that nobody in the library, nobody in the public videotape. Now, this is not anything secretive, but in their profession, these gentlemen have intellectual property. They are selling themselves and their abilities with their intellectual property. They often base their price on the number of students. Looking at the rules, however, and I'm not sure we bring it out in here, we will not be able to accept either of their standard. If we have a meeting with the full board, we cannot accept either of their standard agreements saying they can't be videotaped. Primarily because of the OMA, we can say we aren't going to tape them, but as I look out in the audience and you have tape devices, we cannot control that, and we cannot say you cannot have tape devices in. So I would just caution that in this document, we are very careful that we have to note that we cannot accept their standard agreements because they will be, if they choose a solution that says they meet with all of us as a whole, it is a meeting of the board, it will, it can and will probably be taped.
Okay. Director Farkas, is there some way we can alter that proposal or the RFP?
I believe I could put some language in that lets them know that they will be videotaped, that's going to be part of any type of meeting that would require all of you to be in the meeting together based on OMA, if that's amenable.
I think so, yes.
Thank you.
Trustee Tara, sorry.
It's okay.
Tara, sorry.
It's okay.
Trustee Mitchner.
You're good. I just wanted to, I was the one that made that comment, so I didn't want it to be the elephant in the room. I also don't want to call myself an elephant, but here I am doing it. It was a video, and the public is able to video under OMA. So I'm the one that made that comment of what I saw on video. it did happen. I just want to assure you of that. It's tricky, and, this is where maybe Tom has more knowledge than I do, because I never purport to be a legal professional. However, we are a one reporter state, so keeping that in mind, that if I meet you at Starbucks and you're like, oh, let me tell you about Tara's shoes, I could be like, you know what I'm saying? And I don't have to tell you, so just keep that in mind as well. But I do understand what you're saying as far as respecting their rules. I'm not negating that. I just wanted to bring those things forward since you mentioned what you did.
Okay, any other discussion about this? All right, seeing no further discussion, then I'll ask Secretary Bartlett to call the roll. And this, we are voting on approving the scope of work with some clarification regarding recording. And it will go out soon. Now, one question that I might have is the date that is this realistic, the date that we're giving for them to return these proposals to us? It's just going to be a week from now, correct?
That's actually why I put that in, because I was looking for further direction if you wanted it to be out longer, but I just put that in as a placeholder.
I mean, is that realistic, board members, to expect proposals back within a week?
In my experience, I think you're going to need a little more time. I just know that two gentlemen specifically in terms of returning and how busy they are, so they might need more time than that, but I'm willing, based on the board, what you decide in terms of a date for return.
Okay, Trustee Mishner.
Yeah, and I know you asked for board member input. So my thought process is, if the DEI committee is paused until this action gets done, then I think it should happen as soon as possible. I don't think the DEI committee should be paused. But if this is the reason why we're saying it's paused, or why you're saying it's paused, then I don't think we should delay that, because that would go back to what, the delay, deny, defer thing, right? So we definitely want to make sure that we have action on that as soon as possible, is my thought process.
Okay.
So I can send it out then based on what is here.
Yeah.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes, so what I was going to say was the two professionals that we discussed, which is Dr. Meadows and Dr. Marks at the last meeting. I think both of them know this work, and they know what they're doing, and I think that if they want to work with us, they'll submit it within the time frame that we need, because I do think that both of them understand the sense of urgency that we have here. So I don't think you have to worry, Julie. And if we don't hear back from them, then we can reevaluate deadline, but I think we should just move forward with that. And as far as, adding that clarification of videotaping, that's totally fine. Since I'm the maker of the motion, I better go on record saying that's fine, and I accept it. For the public knowledge, just to reiterate for everybody here too, whenever there's a quorum, so that means majority or all of us, it's always Open Meetings Act. So when we do our training, or when we have these types of events that involve board business, it can be taped. If it's not us, it is open for that. So I just want to let you guys know, and I'm pretty sure our moderators, the consultants understand that as well. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, Secretary Bartlett, please call the roll.
Trustee Mitchner,
Yes.
Trustee Wood,
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Trustee Chair Curry,
Yes.
Trustee Crawford,
Yes.
Trustee Dooley,
Yes.
motion passes 6-0.
Okay, the second item for library board action is to approve the entering into the 3-year contract with CBTS for phone equipment and service in the amount of $15,478.20 annually. So I'll entertain a motion to enter this 3-year contract.
So moved.
Okay. Representative Chair Curry. Is there a second? Member Wood?
Second.
Thank you. And the motion is made and seconded, and now for discussion. Any discussion? Yes. Member Chair Curry.
Thank you, Chairman Crawford. I just wanted to let the public know that the number of responses to this RFP is tremendous. Most municipal RFPs don't get this kind of response. And I want to just compliment Barbara, the other Barbara, for the work she did. I mean, it was a very comprehensive response, a great analysis. And I think one of the things that's good to know about it is that not only was competitive bidding, but the low price we got was also from somebody who was already a provider to us. So that
Yes.
Thank you. I
Member
had to step.
Commissioner.
Yep, no worries. I noticed on, the bids are listed on page 82. Sorry. I wanted to know who is our current service provider and how much a month do we pay them? I saw a version, one of the potential bidders, as well as AT&T and T-Mobile listed. I'm going to take these off because I'm fogging up. And our claims and warrants on page 18, and it wasn't clear to me if one or all three or none of these will be replaced by CBTS. Also, what is the trigger to bid this out? Was it end of contract? Was it poor services? I'm looking for some clarification and some understanding before I can say, yes, let's do it, or no, let's not.
Okay. I guess we'll ask Director Farkas to please clarify.
Sure. The CBTS is our current provider, actually. So we've had a relationship with them, as you can see from pricing. So we are currently comfortable with them in terms of the 5 areas that they were actually looked at, as well as looking at all the other bids that were gone through. This is now a different type of service, so it's a 3-year contract. Annually, it'll be $15,000, so it is more that we're engaging in this type of service compared to in the past. Have I answered everything? I'm sorry, you had a number, so I want to make sure.
No, it's okay. I did have a lot of questions, so I understand. Let me just double check with you, Director Farkas. So, yes, you answered the current service provider is CBTS. That's helpful to know. You mentioned how much they would be, we would pay them a month is $15,000. And then the trigger to bid, is it just because we've already done business with them before?
No,
or?
we actually found out that they were going to no longer provide service to us, so we had to go out for bid, and the phones that we currently have were going to be discontinued in terms of its warranty and service at that point.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That's really helpful.
Sorry, I didn't.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was saying yes or no
Sure.
to. Thank you.
Okay, you good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, number 3. Nope. Okay, sorry, I guess now if there's no further discussion, I'll ask Secretary Bartlett to call the roll.
Trustee Wood?
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Trustee Chair Curry?
Yes.
Trustee Crawford?
Yes.
Trustee Dooley?
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Number 3 is consideration and approval of closing the library on Friday, March 11th, 2022 for an additional in-service day of staff training with Dr. J. Marks to further develop and discuss DEI topics first introduced at the August event. So Director Farkas has 2 board meeting calendar conflicts as well, which she is asking the board to meet a week earlier on Thursdays in February and in July of 2022. So I will entertain a motion to approve the library closing March 11th, as well as the board meeting date change in February and July. Motion to approve. Anybody want to move?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Okay, Trustee Dooley. And seconded?
I'll second.
All right, Chair Curry, Trustee. Okay, now discussion. Anyone have any further discussion? Yes.
I just had a quick question. Director Farkas, if it's okay, through the chair, I want to do this right. Okay. You typically need that time, right? Like it seems familiar, like that February time?
For the exception?
Yeah. Is that typically something that happens? Because I know, like, the reason why I ask is because I know that in November we always do like a Wednesday board meeting, and in December we do 2. So my thought process is if that's a typical thing for you, it seems like tell me if my memory's false, but I feel like you've done that before in February, so I thought like, if that's a typical thing that you need, I wonder if we can always have it altered, if that's the case.
It's not. It's
It's
actually
not.
year by year.
Okay, no worries. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? If not, Secretary Bartlett, please call the roll.
Trustee Chair Curry?
Aye.
Trustee Crawford?
Yes.
Trustee Dooley?
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner?
Yes.
Trustee Wood?
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Pass 6-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion is approved. We've completed the library action items and communications. You all have read the communications, I would assume. And now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, Commissioner?
I'll second it because
Seconded,
Tori's not
Julie,
here.
all right. And any discussion about adjourning? No? Okay.
Trustee
Secretary
Crawford?
Bartlett, please call the roll.
Trustee Crawford?
Yes.
Trustee Dooley?
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner?
Yes.
Trustee Wood?
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Trustee Chair Curry?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.